Hello, this is your host, Renata Ortega. Welcome to today's episode of the Cycle Breaker and Changemaker podcast. This podcast is all about how to break free from negative generational cycles in order to create meaningful, lasting changes. For helpful tools and answers to your most pressing questions, be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Cycle Breaker Changemaker. I look forward to helping you on your cycle breaking and change-making journey. I promise you will find nothing more rewarding than this. In today's episode, I'll be discussing emotional numbness as a trauma response. Have you ever experienced a change in your emotional experience, as if your emotions became something you started to have restricted access to? Or, perhaps, have your emotions started to feel completely inaccessible? Maybe you have experienced a feeling of distance and detachment from others. And maybe you have developed a strong preference for being alone and isolated. Or is it possible that you're struggling to experience positive feelings like happiness and that you're feeling generally flat, both emotionally and physically? If you are experiencing one or more of these symptoms, you may be dealing with emotional numbness as a trauma response. So, what exactly is emotional numbness? Emotional numbness is when you are in a state of existence which leaves you unable to feel and express emotions. It is the mental and emotional process of shutting out feelings. Everyone can experience a day when they feel emotionally numb, and it is often temporary. When experiencing emotional numbness, though, this feeling will be experienced for many days consecutively and for multiple weeks in a row. The emotional numbness will begin to impact your day-to-day life. Emotional numbness is a strategy to protect yourself from physical or emotional pain that is in addition to pain that you have already endured. So why does emotional numbness happen, and how does it impact the negative cycle? If you have or are experiencing anything that I have described so far in today's episode, please know that it is not your fault and it can be fixed. When our brains are flooded with big and hard emotions, it is no wonder we need help to navigate through our responses by numbing them. This reaction is not a conscious one. It is something your brain does in order to protect you. Emotional numbness can actually be a very helpful response to provide you with temporary relief. When it becomes a long-term coping mechanism, however, there can be long-lasting consequences. If left untreated, emotional numbness can cause apathy, feelings of detachment, and a lack of interest in one's joyful activities. Emotional numbness can cause damage to your overall emotional and physical well-being over the long term, and it can cause individuals to experience substance abuse, avoidance, and self-harm in order to cope. Here's my story and how emotional numbness has impacted me as an adult. I will never forget the first time I realized that I was not fully feeling as a young adult. It was pointed out to me by someone that cared enough to be concerned for my inability to protect myself from being verbally attacked. I don't know how long it would have taken for me to realize my lack of feeling otherwise, without someone helping me understand that I was showing an absence of emotion at a time when emotion was really warranted. If I had access to something like this podcast, it would have really helped me see this and manage this sooner, which is why I want to help others going through similar experiences. I experienced a verbal attack which was both inappropriate in content and in its execution. It was very public in a well-regarded corporation. After seeing this happen to me, someone said to me, "I was waiting for your anger, and it never came. Where is your anger?" My reply was, "I don't know." Where was it? I knew what anger was. It had been so long since I had felt it, though. Years, actually. Many, many years. Where had it gone? So what have I done to break the cycle of how emotional numbness has impacted me? Step 1. Noticing. In my case, my lack of emotional response was pointed out to me. What that did was propel me into noticing how and if I could respond to situations. If you are not prompted to do this because someone has given you clear and direct feedback, you can notice how you respond as compared to others. We are all unique and have our own backgrounds and will respond to certain situations very differently. However, if you see that most people around you are angered or upset, and you are feeling blasé, or if you remember that you would have felt a response in the past and now you don't feel anything at all, it is worth noticing that something may have changed. Minimizing stress. Stress is a huge contributor to the feelings of emotional numbness. If you are undergoing a lot of stress and for long periods of time, stress reduction will significantly help you because it is a large part of emotional numbness. Ideally, you need to remove the main sources of stress in your life. By reviewing them, you can see what you can get rid of. Additionally, you can support stress reduction with adding in relaxation techniques into your life. You can use techniques such as meditation, deep breathing exercises, yoga, and aromatherapy. Step 3. Exercise. This is tough when you're feeling emotionally numb and do not want to do anything. Exercise is going to be one of the last things you want to do. The reason this is so important, though, is exercise releases endorphins. By exercising, you will be able to access a flood of endorphins. These relieve stress and pain, which is needed to move away from emotional numbness. You can exercise in a way that is manageable for you. This can look like a walk, swimming, or running. Really, whatever you enjoy that you can fit into your life. Here's my experience and how implementing the steps I've shared led to a positive outcome. After first realizing I was having trouble accessing some of my emotions, I was able to take the steps I have shared to fix this. There was one emotion that remained untapped. That emotion was anger. Finally, after asking questions to expert therapists and doctors, I learned that I was terrified of anger, and that made me not want to access it within myself. I had been exposed to absolutely terrifying anger growing up, the kind that makes you want to hide all the time, and the kind that makes you not understand how you're going to get through the next day. I became terrified of my own anger. My experience with anger was that it was huge and tore up everything in its way. It left a path of mass destruction that no one could escape. Understandably, that wasn't anything I wanted to be a part of. One doctor shared with me a story about how her anger ended up saving a group of children. It was then I could finally see that anger can actually be a useful emotion. It can be used as a form of helping others, and most importantly, it can be used as a form of helping yourself. Now I am proud to say I do get angry when I am being mistreated, and I voice it. I get angry when those I care about are being treated wrongly, or when I witness someone being treated badly, and yes, I voice it. My anger comes from a place of being healed and a place of strength. And it is not the scary beast I once thought it was. It is a force that I can use for the greater good. That is the power of being able to access your emotions. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Cycle Breaker and Changemaker. I would love to hear from you and to receive your feedback. Remember, you can reach me on Instagram or Facebook at Cycle Breaker Changemaker. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts in order to help me continue to help you. I am looking forward to having you join me for the next episode. Until then, please take care.